Welcome to Module 3. What we're going to address today is to learn about what you can provide to your students in the classroom. In doing so, we must first remind ourselves what impact mental health plays. So let's look at these definitions by starting with life stressors. Stress is the body's response to physical, mental, or emotional pressure. Stress causes chemical changes in the body and may also lead to feelings of frustration, anxiety, anger, or depression. This includes school demands and frustration, such as taking on too many activities, too high of expectations, and of course, as we are aware of, social media plays a major stressor. Experiences is a second definition. What we live through that shape who we are can be a positive or adverse experience. Depending upon how things are interpreted, they determine that impact, such as death of a loved one, changing schools, or experiencing change in the family. As teachers, you must build upon your students' skills. So let's look at those skills, such as protective factors. These are personal or environmental characteristics that reduce the probability of suicide. Protective factors can buffer the effects of risk factors. What we're hoping to do in our classrooms is build upon resiliency. Resiliency is the capacity to cope positively with the effects of risk factors. This skill is called resilience. So let's look at the definition of resilience. The quality of recovering quickly from failure and adversity, and not only returning to the status quo, but actually using the opportunity to grow and further personal development. Resilience may look like being able to handle frustration or being able to find hope in times of hardship. You can increase resilience by building connections with your students while creating a support system for your students, while helping your students learn skills to cope and manage stress. Modeling your thoughts for your students, such as feelings and behaviors. Being able to verbalize to your students, I can get through this. I have done this before. This could be fun. I can always ask for help. My teachers, friends, and parents want me to do well and will support me. Modeling feelings, if we consciously change our thoughts, we can take some form of control over our feelings and behaviors. Motivated, capable, joyful, optimistic, supported, loved, valued are all important. Modeling behavior, helping our students make a plan to take action by helping students become creative, helping students ask for help, talking with friends or someone they trust about their concerns. And actions by you, their teachers, can enhance those protective factors and are an essential element of suicide prevention efforts. Strengthening these factors also protects students from other risks, including violence, substance abuse, and academic failure. We also know from evolving research findings that we can teach skills to elementary school children that can better protect them from the risk of suicide and other self-destructive behaviors as they become adolescents. More information referring to this can be found in Society for the Prevention of Teen Suicide. As teachers, though, it's important that you recognize there is no single agreed-upon list of protective factors. The list that I am providing to you, and which you can integrate into your classroom, summarizes the protective factors and contributes to building upon your students' resiliency and is identified by the most recent research. Helping your students cope and problem solve is an essential skill for your students to develop. Cultural and religious beliefs that discourage suicide is another protective factor. Connection to friends, family, and community support is extremely important. And helping your students identify and establish supportive relationships. The availability of physical and mental health care is extremely important for your students. Limited access to lethal means among people at risk. In developing life skills, problem solving, coping skills, and the ability to adapt to change is extremely important. And additionally, as teachers, you can contribute by building and reinforcing the following skills in your classroom. And I bet you many of these skills you already demonstrate. A strong sense of your students' self-esteem and a sense of purpose or meaning in your students' life. Creating a classroom environment that is reliable, organized, consistent, when communicating your classroom expectations. Those expectations include discipline, establishing and helping your students follow rules, both in the classroom as well as while they're at school, helping your students control and monitor their emotional self-regulation while providing them opportunities to regulate, de-escalate, and even regroup. And then modeling and communicating optimism, which includes psychological or emotional well-being, the ability to stay positive, and being in a positive mood. Additionally, your classroom must be intentional in teaching such skills as problem solving, which includes the following. Your students need to develop strong coping skills, which should include conflict resolution, nonviolent ways to handle disagreements and disputes. Your classroom should be an environment that instills a strong sense of student self-esteem. Your students may not remember everything that you have taught them, but they will never forget how you make them feel. And your classroom should be an environment that promotes and encourages your students to become involved in extracurricular activities, music and art and physical activities, or participation in sports. Your classroom should be an environment where students recognize and support the value of each other, both culturally and religiously, those beliefs that affirm life. Additionally, your classroom should be an environment that builds ongoing classroom resilience, while continuing to build a sense of hope with your students in the face of adversity. Your classroom should be an environment that models and recognizes building on your students' skills of managing frustration, increasing their tolerance, and maintaining emotional regulation. Your classroom should be an environment that values, recognizes, and understands your students' family and support system, discussing what adults your students are connected to and who they rely on, who your students are close to or have strong relationships with, who are your students' close friends or family members. This helps your students identify who their reliable adults are and builds upon their social support system. You should recognize and understand your students' family support for school. You don't just want to assume. As a teacher, you assist and contribute every day to your students' positive school experiences. It is important to be mindful of this, that your classroom environment should contribute to safe classroom environments, especially for our LGBTQ student community. Your classroom environment should communicate and model compassion and care while respecting the cultures of all students. And your classroom environment should demonstrate and model effective classroom management, methods to foster a positive learning environment. Your classroom environment and teaching style should provide education and opportunities to enable families to be actively involved in their child's academic and school life. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, is your classroom environment must intentionally establish a process that facilitates student engagement, academic achievement, and student and staff empowerment by creating trusting and caring relationships with all who you work with while promoting ongoing open communication. This will provide you the opportunity to have those difficult conversations with your students, such as, "I'm concerned about how you feel and I cannot let anything happen to you." Or having a discussion such as, "I care about what happens to you and I need help in dealing with this. Thank you for confiding in me. I do not want you to hurt yourself." Or, "I'm on your side and we'll get through this together. Thank you for trusting me. I'm so sorry this has happened to you, and I'm here if you want to talk." Through a list of different activities that we have described, probably what you've recognized, identified, and facilitated in your classroom is establishing a trusting relationship with your students. It's one of those key components in the prevention of youth suicide.